This is Warren Vanderhill interviewing David and Elaine Burgauer. It is 22nd of January 2003, and this is for the Muncie Jewish Oral History Project 2. First, I want to thank both of you for agreeing to take the time to participate in my study. I'd like to begin with a general question, and of course you can chime in, comment, and talk about this as much as you wish. But just to ask you, what are the most important changes that you've observed, since you lived around here for quite a period of time, in Muncie, in the community, in the general Muncie area, say in the last 10 or 15 years? Anybody can start.
Maybe if you think of something, you know, my mind.
Well, I'm thinking about Yorktown School. It's not the little county school.
Okay.
There's a lot more traffic. Everyone's moving west.
If
they're a Delta, but that does affect us.
So mobility to the west, which would be Yorktown, to the north, which would be Delta, you think that's important?
Certainly.
Okay.
Developing that way.
Okay.
People.
It's kind of coming back now, but downtown, and during my younger age, that was where you went when you were downtown. You went to the movie, you walked downtown, all the movie theaters were there, everybody went shopping there. That moved out to the malls and everything, and now it's trying to come back downtown a little bit. It never will be what it used to be.
Well, let me pick up on that, because as somebody who used to be downtown, I mean, you're in the family business.
Oh, yes.
Certainly the case when I interviewed your father. Are you really optimistic about the fact that they think they can bring downtown back to the way it was when, for example, I came here 37 years ago and it was a real downtown?
No, I'm not optimistic. I'm optimistic that certain things maybe will go downtown, like a restaurant,
right,
or certain things, of course, attorney. Some of the stuff downtown is going to be there, the attorneys and the courthouse. But the restaurants are having a tough time. No, I don't think that people will not go downtown. They're going to go to the mall where they can drive and they can park and they can walk.
Inside, from store to store to store.
And inside, from store to store. It never will be what it was years ago. From a movie theater to the restaurants to ball stores. I mean, that was a tradition to go to ball stores.
Right.
To go down and go downstairs and eat. I was shopping with my mother upstairs. And you had Penny's, you had Stillman's, you had the Army Navy surplus, you had Stan Jewelers, you had anything that you wanted was down. Kirk's Sporting Goods was downtown.
Yeah, I had to get Kirk's Sporting
Goods was downtown.
Yeah.
Bertha's Bookstore, the Hotel Delaware. I mean, I just remember as a kid, you could see the homecoming parade from downtown. We used to sit there on the curb.
First Chinese restaurant I went to in Muncie.
Yeah, right.
Now
That was one of the best ones, and then they moved around on Walnut Street.
Yeah.
Right there by the, I because I was a kid, there was the Weiser Theater, the Uptown, the Strand, the Rivoli, the Liberty. Yeah, they never will, Warren, will be back to that.
Yeah.
Because people are not going to go downtown.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's just, I'm glad to see some of the restaurants are making it, and they're trying to revitalize, but even Fred Prowl, owns Paisley's now, and he's very involved in the downtown restoration things going on. He says it's going to be a lot better, David, but it never will be what it used to be. Right. They kind of ruined it when they closed the parking.
Yeah.
And now they've opened it up, which has helped.
Right.
And that really has helped. But there's so many things that younger generation doesn't want to come downtown for. There's nothing for them.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's the big box stores and things like that that are the lure to so many people that will prevent them probably from.
I mean, I think they've done wonders with what they've done in the last few years. But there's still going to be vacancies, and there's still people who can't make it. We look at the Spot Cigar Store, it's been open for years, and now they're closed, although they're going to blow back up again.
Yeah.
They just can't make it now.
Okay. More specifically for this project, I'd like to have each of you describe in your own words how you see yourselves as part of the Muncie Jewish community.
Well, as a treasurer, I've put a lot of time and effort into it.
Okay.
It's very difficult to find a replacement. I keep trying, and when someone takes over the job, they end up giving it back.
How long have you been doing that?
Most of the last probably 17 or 18 years.
Oh, okay.
I'd give it up once in a while, and then I'd get it back in a year or so.
You got it back this time.
It's difficult to find someone who'll take the time and go with all the stuff that has to be done. Luckily, I've been able to do it so far. But, I don't know.
But that's an important part of your role in the temple and in the larger Jewish
Well,
community.
it's something that we definitely need, and it's something that I enjoy,
Okay.
so I can contribute that.
Talk a little bit about your decision to convert to Judaism.
Well, I've always been interested, and I'd read books and in high school, so it wasn't a biggie when I met David. And, maybe that's where I belong. Maybe I'm reincarnated, and that's where I'm supposed to be. I don't know.
How long does that process take to go through the conversion class?
Right, we did it with student rabbis,
Okay.
and it only took, I don't know, a few months, less than a year. But some of them, ours was pretty informal, I think. Some of them are a lot more, you'll do this. You'll
Right.
go to Cincinnati for a mikveh and all this other stuff, and I didn't have all that. I just went through the classes, went to the services, and the night before our wedding, they made me a member.
Okay.
But you went to Indianapolis for some study with Rabbi.
We just went down and talked to him. Did
I
he marry
thought
us?
you had to go down, no?
Okay. No. Now, it took me a little longer, maybe it's because I wasn't so involved then, to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, no one was said anything against me or slighted me in any way. But I didn't feel real comfortable for a long time. But maybe it's because, like I said, I wasn't involved.
Right.
And once I started doing things, making phone calls for the sisterhood or this or that, I felt more like a member.
Okay. Well, I mentioned that because one of the things I've picked up in the interviews I've done thus far is that people now see Temple Bethel as a very open, warm, accepting kind of congregation. I mean, do you think that's a change that's occurred in the past several years?
It really has, Warren. Years ago, there was a lot of the old Jewish families around, and of course, you learn from your father, and my father got along with some, and some that didn't get along with. I can't really say that right now, the members we have, that we don't get along with everybody. It's a different crowd.
Yeah.
The old-time Jews that own businesses that have been here for years with their traits that maybe my dad liked or I didn't like, they're not around anymore. I mean, the old ones like Marty Schwartz or Meyer or me or Herb Paisley, who's not here all the time anymore, but those families are gone, and of course with them went a lot of our revenue for the temple too, and that's the reason we don't have a full-time rabbi. Plus we don't have the population to have a full-time rabbi. We have a lot of people that are not businessmen that can afford to give some of the former people did. I mean, you think that Sam Dobro was in town.
Sure.
Ben Hertz,
Right.
Tao. They're just a lot, and they're not around anymore.
Yeah.
And some of those I miss, but I really like the group we have now more than. And I tell my wife, even we believe it or not, that can be in the interview. We have had last year and this year. You'll get a kick out of this. We decided last year, and now we decided this year to boycott the temple. And you say, well, why are we going to boycott the temple? We don't know Hebrew. We cannot read Hebrew. And they have so much Hebrew in the last couple of years in the temple that last year we got discouraged and decided we wasn't going to go anymore because so much of the service we don't understand. Well, we missed it. We missed the relationship with the people. And we had one service that had a little more English in it. And Ian called us after they'd had the service, and we didn't go that night. So we came back.
Okay.
Well, this year it started the same thing again. All the songs are in Hebrew. We don't know what they're even saying. They read out the Torah. We don't know what they're saying because the rabbi doesn't translate it. I even called it the Hebrew Reformed Temple in Indianapolis to ask what they did, and found out they read a lot of English and translate a lot of it. So we boycotted again, just saying we weren't going to come. Well, we told some people, and so they're trying to make the services more English now because we enjoyed coming. But we didn't enjoy coming for 75% of the service. Elaine and I didn't know what they were saying.
Oh, okay.
The same as we wouldn't go to a civic theater if it was in Greek or in Spanish. And that was what I told people. So they even told us they had the service last Saturday in the dinner, and Ann emailed us and said, you need to come, it's mostly in English.
Okay.
So that's...
well, is that a conscious decision of the congregation that they prefer these days to have more Hebrew in the service?
Well, this is a Reformed temple,
right.
And of course in big cities you have Reformed, you'd have Conservative, you have Orthodox.
Right.
And
But it's acting more orthodox, I think.
I think it's partly because, I shouldn't say partly, I think Elaine will agree, it's partly because of a few people that I think want it that way. But as much as we enjoy going, and Elaine feels good about going, she feels after we went, she feels good, she likes to be there. But it got to the point, Warren, that we didn't know what they were saying, and we couldn't pronounce the words, and I never learned Hebrew when I was going through Temple. We didn't have that big a class, and they didn't teach Hebrew. I was like, Marty Schwartz says he does not know Hebrew.
Right.
I've talked to a lot of people, they don't know Hebrew. And it just changed because of a few people.
A lot of the younger people do know Hebrew,
Well,
and they're pushing it for the kids now, too.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you come from
So
a
the
big
pendulum
city.
is swinging more that way.
More in the direction of more Hebrew.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They'll probably go back again sometime, just like
Yeah,
the
as
Catholics.
Meyer Becker would tell you, or anybody that's come from a big city, they learned Hebrew.
Sure.
I mean, but we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from New York City, and I grew up in an area where there were a lot of Jewish people, and they all went to Hebrew school, and they all learned Hebrew.
We can't even read it in English very good. We don't know how to pronounce the words, and let alone know what it means. And I don't know. We start off this year going again. I have basketball tickets. I'm a big high school basketball fan. I have tickets to South and Central. Although I'm a Burroughs graduate, and my daughter goes to Yorktown. And I, every Friday night or Saturday, you could find me at home or someplace at a basketball game. I took my wife all over the state when they were having some of the good teams. I went to ball game this year. I am going to Friday night. But it's because Lane wants to go. We feel good at going. But it got to the point here, we were going out to our lake house at Farmland here a couple weeks ago, and on the way out we got talking about it, and the more we talked, the more mad I got.
Oh, okay.
And so we just decided that we weren't going to go anymore because we don't get silly to go and not know what they're saying.
Yeah. I think it's a problem.
And so they're trying to, at the last board meeting, and brought up our problem, and I was going to bring it up, but I didn't because she'd already knew what was going on. In fact, she emailed us to come to that service last Saturday night for dinner and told us that we could be making a lot in English. And that's all we ask them. And then there's others just like us. Matter of fact, a Friday night service, there may be 15 or 20 people there, and I could guarantee half of them do not know Hebrew. So what they're getting out of it, I don't know. I like the association, the people there. I like the
desserts are nice afterwards.
But,
maybe more people will come if they know what's going on.
We'd like to know what's going on, and we asked them, why not read it in English? Is there a book that tells us when you're reading in Hebrew what the English is? Well, no, they said there wasn't, but they could tell us where it's at in the book, but they've never done it before.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's, but we do, as far as, yes, I enjoy it, because I've been a member a lot longer. I've lived here all my life. I was born in Muncie. I like the people a lot more than I did years ago because it's a different crowd.
Yeah, there's no question. It's changed.
It's friendlier. They're nice. I mean, this nice thing about the Zemtals recently had about Smith with my daughter at the Horizon Center. Unbelievable thing. And we were invited. We had a hell of a time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice. It was first class.
Yeah.
And years ago, when things like that, you very seldom would get invited. If you weren't in a clique, you didn't get invited.
Okay.
But everybody seems to invite everybody to everything.
Yeah, there's a lot more openness.
Oh,
I think.
yes.
Let me switch a little bit. When I did the study of the Muncie Jewish community 23 years ago, one of the questions that I asked all the participants, of course your father included, was to talk about relationships in Muncie between Jewish people and non-Jewish people. Because for that generation, that was a really big issue. There were housing covenants. There were places where people couldn't live. There were clubs like the Delaware Country Club and Rotary and other clubs that they could not join. And so those kinds of relationships were very important for people of that generation to talk about. In this study, I'm raising the same question again to see if in Muncie now that's an issue at all. That is to say, the relationships between Jewish people in the Muncie community and non-Jewish people.
I would say that it's changed a lot myself. I'll let you comment when I get done. I went through high school at Burroughs, and I was like maybe 2 Jewish people in high school all the time. I was young lady myself. And I used to hear all the Jewish things that I didn't like to hear related to the call, even though some of them probably didn't even know I was Jewish.
Right.
And I just didn't pay attention to it. To me, it was my mother and dad always said it was ignorance, just don't pay no attention to it. I think it's changed a lot. I don't think it's, I think you can belong to anything that you want. And you mentioned the Delaware Country Club, and I can remember when, like Sam Dalborough, Sherman Ziegler, some of the first ones who could join. I can remember when they started Green Hills Country Club, and the people that started that, which was Burl Plank and the Glazers and some of the people from Anderson, some of them wanted to have it strictly Jewish, and I can remember some of the people that were going to be invested in that said, no, if we're going to be involved in this, we're not going to do like the other one. We're going to let anybody who wants to join it, because we don't want to get involved in it, and that's the way it ended up. No, I think it's, I'm proud of my heritage, and I remember like people kid me about being Jewish, and I don't know what they mean by it, but I think people respect us. A lot of course, in a small community, I've always said, people think of Jewish people, most of them being well off, well-to-do, and it's not true. In a big city, in a big community, Chicago, New York, you have poor, you have wealthy Jewish people. It just happens in a small community, most Jewish people are there because their family had businesses. And so the ones that stayed. That has changed now. I mean, where years ago, Muncie, everybody was you probably going to temple, or owned their own business. There was a few doctors, but you had eye doctors, you had business people. Most of them were business people. Most of them were business. Now you have professors. You have it's changed. You have a fireman, Mark Greenberg, a fireman. I mean, it really has changed. To the better, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I should get my bias in here. It's a much more diverse congregation.
Oh, yes. We don't have that, which we had years ago, as you can tell I'm talking. We had people that thought they were better than everybody else. And my dad, because I got it from my dad used to get some, he'd listen to this and that people would be talking. My dad was not that way. When you interviewed my dad was a Jewish fisherman that liked to have a garden, like me. And we bought these lake guys a farmland. I fish, I have a garden, and I'm like my father. I'm a little different than my father. My father didn't care about impressing anybody. I do like to have nice things, but mainly for myself, not to impress anybody else.
Well, you got to at least have a couple good fishing rods.
Well, we love
He's got a couple.
We love you.
Yeah, so do I.
But no, it's a different, Warren, it's a different, and I've lived here all my life. It's a different community, a Jewish community. We're more diversified. Practically everybody, and I look up on the night on Friday night to see who died that we're talking about, because they put up the lights, and everybody was on there. You see, it was a businessman where they owned a clothing store. We went down Walnut Street, everybody along there was a Jewish merchant.
That's right.
They were Jewish merchants, and when they came to town, they came as a Jew. I remember when Larry and then gentleman started. We used to have the neighbor Trackman, Jack Trackman was at
the discount store.
The big discount store in the Northwest Plaza. The Jewish people started. He came into town. You don't have that anymore. The only thing you have is professors and doctors, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No. It just indicates mobility. It just indicates change.
It's a change, but to me, it's a change for the better. The only thing we did, after we got despondent about was all the humor in the services, and there's others felt the same, but they wouldn't come out like we did, and we just told them how we felt, and so they're trying to change it a little bit for us.
Well, Elaine, since you're a convert to Judaism, I'd like to get your perspective on relationships, as you may have seen them between Jewish and non-Jewish people. I mean, do you think that's much of an issue in terms of relationships that you noticed?
I truthfully haven't had any confrontations or...
Okay. Well, that was really my next question, because I was going to ask each of you if you've ever experienced any overt or covert anti-Semitism in your lives.
Well, you did a little bit when you were running for school board, and our daughter at Yorktown did a little bit.
When I ran for school board in Yorktown, and I ran for the wrong reason. I wanted to get rid of the superintendent, and
seems to be in the water out there.
And believe it or not, maybe I shouldn't put this, I'm not going to say who it was. But I had swastikas out in my yard, and I really didn't know what to do about it.
So in your yard where your house is now?
Yeah, I did. And I lost by 50 votes. There's another gentleman who was running with me because he wanted to do the same thing I did. He's been on the board since then. This present school board this year, and everybody hates him. I mean, I get along with it. I guess they do a lot of things. I have a lot of problems out there.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've had any. You get things that you do when you're talking to people, will chew you down, and those
But not so much of that, really.
No, no. I actually weren't anymore. People that know I'm Jewish, I hear good things rather than bad things. And some of the good things are, most of them are very good supporters of Israel. They know that that's the only, and that's makes us feel good because it's the only true friend we have in that part of the country and the world. And people that have any intelligence know that. And so it makes me feel good when someone says, "Hey, David, those Israelis are really good." What? And I have someone say, "Well, how'd that war of Egypt only last 3 days?" And I say, "Well, you know why it only lasted 3 days? Hell, they had to rent that equipment. They had to get it back. So they only want to last 3 days. They get to kick you off. Oh, David, Christmas." But no, we're proud. We're proud that we're Jewish. I could say years ago we probably wouldn't have said as much about it because it was a little different.
Yeah, I think that's
Years
right.
ago,
Well, it wasn't, I think in all communities like Muncie, that was probably true.
And sometimes Warren, what ruins it, and Elaine will agree to this, is one bad apple in the community that's a Jewish person that is terrible, and I can think of some of the ones that are gone now, God bless them, they weren't very easy going within the temple, and they had an attorney I can think of, and I can think of a couple of businessmen that were just terrible. I mean, they treated people terrible, talked to people, talked down to people. My father didn't like them either. And we don't have that around here. The people that come to the temple are for the most part, we get along. We don't have to agree with them, but I enjoy being around it. And not years ago it wasn't that way. Not to me. I don't know.
Well, we didn't go that much when we were first married.
I learned a lot from my father, and my father had certain, some of my fathers, believe it or not, some of my fathers, I can remember one person, he's gone now, and I can mention on tape, I don't care, he put out right now. One of my fathers, remember the temple, one of the persons my father did go home, that was Bernard Friend. And I understood Bernard, and he didn't go on with Marty Schwartz, and I love Marty Schwartz. Marty is just a tremendous person. I just wasn't that close to him, and after I got to know him, I understood him well, especially Bernard. Bernard was Bernard, and if you sat with him, he was going to make you mad. At the board meetings, he'd make people just get mad. I mean, it's all people going to punch him in the mouth. But that was Bernard. He wanted to disagree. He came to disagree. That's what he went to the meetings for.
Yeah. Well, that was Bernard. No question about that. Well, one of the, I guess, tough questions I've been asking everybody is this one, and that is, how do you see the future of Temple Bethel? What kind of future does it have, in your view, as you look at it from the beginning of the year 2003?
Well, I would say that the future of Temple Bethel, and you mentioned it in your beginning statements and comments, Warren, and it seems to say it's going to depend a lot on Ball State and Ball Hospital and places that are going to bring people in, because people are not going to come here, Jewish people, to start a business unless probably their family had a business here before they got transferred to some major industry, but a lot of the major industries left now. And so that would only be onesies and twosies. So I think the future is going to depend on population of Jewish people from Ball State to members, doctors, also people that still live here that continue to associate with that faith, and don't marry out of faith. And like my two brothers, who are wonderful people, but my middle brother now is in College Avenue Methodist Church with his wife, and my younger brother, I don't know where he goes, because we don't talk. That's a shame, but we don't. But that's another thing. I mean, just in my own family here, I've got now two daughters that not either one of them go to church, and my youngest daughter very seldom went to temple.
She went to Sunday school for a long time because I pushed it.
She
learn. She may leave it later when she gets older, but I want her to know.
And so we haven't pushed it, Warren. So it's a shame, but that's what it's going to depend upon. It'd be nice to have this full-time rabbi thing that they're working on, but that's not going to help.
Well, that might help with recruitment, quote unquote, if it's the right person to keep the young people involved
Yeah.
and you know, somebody, some continuity rather than somebody who's here for a while and then they're gone
And we have Jewish people in town that don't even belong to the temple, don't even come.
Yeah.
well, so in the book they don't.
I will say this, something that's really helped, and this is God blessing to the Eliadis, is that addition to the temple.
Well, that's funny because you've anticipated my next question. I've been asking everybody.
Yeah,
in the
that
study.
was probably the biggest thing,
Okay.
because you couldn't have a function down there in that little place we had.
Oh, we did for years.
I
We
know,
had dinners
but-
down there.
but
We were
it's-
crowded. And
I mean, we had they had a memorial to Roger Malik, and it was just beautiful.
I was there.
I know, and I think the president of the university.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have had anything like that, and it was nice.
I agree.
It was beautiful.
It was.
You couldn't. It wasn't. Of course, the sanctuary was still nice, Steve. And by the way, there was a gentleman from Ball State who's retired recently, and he says, brought his class to temple all the time. I really like
he was in religious studies.
yeah, Ball State. He's retired.
I was retired.
He's had some health problems too. And,
I know that there have
Kind
been
of.
there's several people who've mentioned classes coming to the temple from Ball
and I
State.
feel sorry for them because they don't know what they're saying either. They just look
Yeah.
around, and I mentioned that at the board meeting. I said, these students, well, they're supposed to, I said, yeah, but it'd be nice if they know what you're saying. They're looking around, they don't know. I said, I feel stupid because I don't know what you're saying either.
Yeah. But you think the addition has really made a
Oh,
significant difference?
that is, yes, it's helped bring members in. I think people enjoy coming there because it's a nice atmosphere. We can have nice dinners now. No, that, in all my life of being a member of Bethel Temple, that's probably the number one thing that's changed at the center.
Well, let me do this a little bit differently. If each of you had a wish list, and you could put a couple, 2, 3, whatever number of things on that wish list that you feel would ensure the future of Temple Bethel, what would you put on the list? What do you think are the most important things to make the temple have a more guaranteed future? And I will confess, this is where people usually put in the full-time rabbi.
The full-time rabbi.
Yeah,
The other thing, which is the most important, is the members. If we don't have the population membership
Who can support it financially?
Yeah.
financially, we
Okay.
can't
I'm
do it.
always a pessimist.
Well, I mean,
on that one,
Elaine knows more about this than anyone else I've talked to.
I can tell you something.
That's really critical to have increased membership.
I can tell you something that's going on now in our temple that never went on, Warren, in all the years I lived in Muncie. We have converts now.
Yeah.
We never had that when I was growing up. I mean, that was unheard of to have someone wanting to become Jewish.
Yeah.
We have people going to studies. I don't know how many we've got now, 6 or 8.
Yeah, you do, because I went to Torah study 2 weeks ago on Saturday morning when the rabbi was here. Mostly because I
you know what you said.
Yeah, sure, we did the last 3 quite exactly. And David Cammons is an old friend of mine, and he had told me that he was
He's a
very
nice
involved
guy.
in Torah
I
study.
like David.
And so Joy and I, my wife, decided we would go. And my late father was a Dutch Reformed minister in New York City, and so I spent a lot of time in the Old
Maybe we
Testament.
can convert you.
Yeah. So David told me they were going to study that part of the Bible, and so I said, well, I've always been interested in the plagues, and I just as soon go for the last 3 as any of them. And so we went, and what really struck me was that David was there, and Beulah, and the rest of the people were part of the conversion class, with the exception of Dana Narder's husband, who was there just because he's interested in Torah studies and he wanted to come. But you're right, they were about 7 or 8 people.
Yeah. And that was unheard of.
Yeah.
In the well, I was young in the 60s and 70s
Right.
and 80s. There was nothing like that.
Yeah, that's right.
I can remember. And when I was a kid growing up, I never went to service. My dad never went, and so my mother couldn't drive, so we didn't go. We went to the High Holy Days. My father hardly would go to that.
Yeah.
But I did go. I'd get out of school. I felt at that time, you're talking about the changes. I can remember being in Burr School, and I had to get a note from my mother to tell me I was going to the Jewish holidays, and I was embarrassed because there wasn't any Jewish people. People didn't know, what are you getting out of school for, David? I said, well, it's our holiday.
Yeah.
And I felt, but now I don't feel bad. I think that it's changed a lot, not only in Muncie, but I think all over the world.
Yeah. We'll go back to my working hypothesis that I mentioned before I turned on the tape, and you touched on it, but I want to get it to the right place here as far as my interview. My working hypothesis for this study is that if it were not for Ball State and Ball Memorial Hospital, I'm not sure that there would be much of a future for Temple Bethel. I'd just like to have you comment on that at this point in the interview.
Speaking as a treasurer, definitely.
Well, I mean, I'm saying it from the standpoint of me as a little bit of a detached observer. I mean, I'm not completely detached because I did the study 23 years ago, and I know an awful lot of people who are in the congregation, and I really have come to care about it a lot. But I began to look down the directory, last year's directory, which hasn't changed significantly, and just put little check marks
What
next to the
percentage
names.
is it?
Well, it's about 20 people, and that's a lot of people.
Out of the membership
and
we have,
a lot, and if you take then people who are kind of in what I call the Ball State orbit, that they've come here because of Ball State, and that would include people like Debbie Mallitz. It would include people like Marilyn Nathan. And so there are people who wouldn't be residing in Muncie, and for whatever reason, be involved in Temple Bethel right now, if it hadn't been for the university.
I agree. Without Ball Hospital, the medical field, and Ball State, we could not have it. We could not run that Temple anymore. And that's a big change from years ago, because it wasn't that way. We had a few doctors, but it was businessmen.
Yeah.
Businessmen that owned companies, working for national companies, but mainly people that own their own businesses and their families. And those people now are either passed away, or their families are moved, or they've sold the businesses, and they're gone.
No, that's right. That's a really good point.
I mean, I can just go up and down Wall Street and think of all the people that I wouldn't even know. My grandmother would tell me, but it's changed. It's different group.
Well, those two institutions in the last 15, 20 or so years they've really become the growth industries, if you want to call them that. But when you think of if you think of what the hospital was when I came here 37 years ago, what Ball State was 37 years ago, I mean, I never thought that as I got very close to retirement myself from Ball State, that the hospital and Ball State would be the size and have the economic power that they have in this community. Who could have foreseen that 3 decades
My
ago?
graduating class was David Evans, whose dad, Chris John, was president, and Frank Ball was the year ahead of me. And I was telling people, all the people, the Brackens were in my class. Charlie Baum was in my class. And Laurel East. So many. I mean, I knew everybody at Ball State because it was small when I was going to university. I used to go to Dr. Evans because his house was right by the student center. Yeah, that's where he lived. And I knew that. It's a big change. I knew everybody at Ball State.
Well, that's right. I mean, I think
changed.
It's
bigger.
Oh,
it got bigger, and then of course it had to survive too.
Sure.
And it's been for the better.
Oh yeah, no question about it.
But no, without Ball State and without Ball Hospital and the medical field, Bethel Temple could not exist. And really could. There's no way. Because that other group that were here for years are gone. The people that were born in Muncie, that lived
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
My father, of course, wasn't born here.
Right.
He came here. His family. He came because his father came here.
Yeah. Well, those are all the questions I have, but I want to give you an opportunity if there's anything else you'd like to add to the interview from your perspective as to what you think might serve as a kind of scholarly addition to our interview this evening. Please feel free to do so. Elaine, anything else you want to add?
Good or bad?
Yeah, right. Good, bad, or indifferent, I guess.
I hadn't planned on doing much talking tonight.
Okay, that's all right. Well, you've got a very important responsibility in the temple, and I think that the fact that you have been willing to take on that responsibility for many, many years is important to the future of Temple Bethel.
She gave it up a year ago, and called her back and said, I need you there. And someone else took over and wasn't doing the job. And they didn't know what was going on.
It's difficult if you haven't done it, if you're not involved in bookkeeping and everything. I am, and I enjoy it. So.
Well, I think the key is that you enjoy it.
Yeah, if I hated it, it would be awful.
Yeah.
Well, it's something I'm proud of, Warren, is my wife not being originally from Muncie and not being Jewish to begin with, that she was so well accepted by people. Some of my friends, like Marty just thinks the world of her, Myra just thinks the world of her, and makes me feel good.
Mhm.
And she's earned their respect. I mean, she's
Yeah.
done a hell of a job for them.
Well, I think that you've really touched on a key point that, as I said a few moments ago, has come through in almost all of my interviews, and that is that people now see Temple Bethel as a very open, accepting community, and they see many of the activities that go on down there as community-oriented.
When I was growing up, we did not have visitors coming to Bethel Temple like we do now. There was not Ball State classes. There was not conversions.
Yeah.
There was not very close-knit group
Yeah.
that was controlled by, I don't know who, I was young then.
Yeah.
It's open, it's very open, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, that is good for Jewish people because
Mhm.
they should be open.
Yeah.
We try to get involved in community activities. We did because of Beulah, a week at Christian Ministries serving dinner.
2 years in a row, we served dinner. We went up there at night and cooked and cleaned up, and we enjoyed it. Beulah is because of Beulah.
Yeah, and I know they're talking, they have music activities, and now they got some film series planned and things like that. I mean, there are things that never would have come up in the interviews that I did 23 years ago.
Oh, no.
Because of Ball State, and we had the culture maybe, and
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
bringing
well,
in-
Ball State's an importer of culture. I mean, even,
Oh, Roger Malik wouldn't have been here if that meant the Ball State.
oh, well, you can go right down the list of people with musical talent.
When I was at the memorial for him, I noticed the gentleman going through the coffee and cake line.
Uh-huh.
And I recognized that man and from my basketball game, believe it or
Oh,
not.
sure.
And I went up to him and I said, I think I know you. And he said, you do? I said, do you officiate high school basketball? He said, yes.
How are you doing?
And he both made him feel so good. And I
Yeah.
said, well, what are you doing here? He said, well, believe it or not, I'm here because my daughter was a student of Roger.
Oh,
She actually went to IU. He tried to recruit her. And I didn't know they recruit students like that for music, but I guess.
oh, yeah.
And he tried to
Big,
recruit
big
her.
time.
Well, and I didn't realize it was
Yeah.
that way. And he said she made a mistake and went to IU and doesn't like it. And Roger's got her back here, got her stopped somewhere, and she felt so bad about passing away. She went to the funeral in Chicago, and he came back to the, and she played. She was one of them that played there. And I have a lady next door at our cottage out to the lakes. She plays the cello once in a while in the morning, and just terrible. Oh, it is absolutely pathetic. And I tell her it's real good. Her husband says it too. She's a boss. What's her last name? Allman?
something like that.
Allman. I think she's in the
Oh, and the Family and Consumer Sciences in the,
Oh.
up on the left there,
Yeah.
the restaurant type.
Yeah, family, it's family consumer
She has
science.
the group where they learn to operate a restaurant, and they do operate for lunch one semester.
And she plays the cello?
Oh, no, I'm just on practice. And she
Oh,
said-
okay.
But we were talking about different things, and she had asked me if I knew Roger Malik, and I said, yes, I
Yeah.
originally Pat played. I said, yes, he was the Bethel Temple.
Yeah.
She said, oh, you're Jewish? I said, yes. She said, oh, he was the best.
Yeah.
She said, he was just crazy. And went on and on. That made me feel good, too.
Well, it's a good example of the kind of talent, I think, that the university's brought here. No question about that. Well, I want to thank both of you for taking the time to
Oh,
participate in
it's fine.
my
I'm
study.
looking forward to the book.
I really appreciate it.
Very well
Thank you
said.
very much.
Thank you.
Oh,